That, my friends, is the sound of money. This is Lou, your rideshare coach. Hey guys, this is Lou, your rideshare coach, coming at you with another episode. Today, I want to be mindful that I don't rush too far ahead. I had some really great sort of complex and very complex things I was about to speak on. I had sort of written up and done some mock attempts at putting together a podcast for it, but then I had to come back and realize or recognize that the purpose of this podcast is for new prospective beginning drivers. You know, that's what this is intended for, and not that anyone at any point can't get anything out of it, but that is purely my focus. And being a former athlete, being a former coach and stuff, I was reminded of a story about John Wooden, UCLA coach, has since passed. All right, rest in peace. Who since passed away. But John Wooden was one of the great teachers of the game of basketball, college basketball, right? And there's a famous story, and I'll just skim around parts of the story, where Bill Walton talks about a Hall of Famer, NBA player. His son coaches the Lakers now. I'm sure I'm telling my age in this stuff right here, guys. But Bill Walton tells a story about how, you know, these top recruits, top prospects come into practice, and the first thing the coach has them do is sit down on the floor, and he teaches them how to put on their shoes and socks. And you're a top recruit coming into one of the best programs in the country, championships abound, and you're expecting to get this complex, this thing you've never seen or heard before, thing you never thought of. And the first thing the coach did was have his players sit at center court, sit down, take off their shoes and socks, and show them the proper way to put them on. Well, the point of that was that Coach Wooden recognized that basketball is a game that's played on what we call a hardwood floor. And you're going to be spending a lot of time on your feet. That's the point of the game. You're going to be spending a lot of time on your feet. You're going to be spending a lot of time running and changing directions. So the importance of knowing how to properly put on your shoes and socks is going to carry you throughout your career. You see, Coach's point was to teach his players, make sure they knew that how to put on their socks and to eliminate the wrinkles so that it would not cause blisters. If there were any wrinkles in the socks, being the toe, the midsection, the heel, or what have you, blisters occur at some point. That's going to cause a player to have to come out of the game. Okay, which is going to have to cost the team if this is a good enough player, which is going to take time out from something else, which could stop a run or a progression of success. Okay, the same with when it came to putting on your shoes properly. If your shoes weren't put on properly and snug and fit, and if the laces weren't tied tight enough, at some point, if there's an error there, it's going to take something to correct that, and that's going to take away time from the main objective, which is to play the game of basketball and be successful. So the teacher that my mind thinks I am says that, wow, that's kind of the same thing with ride sharing. If you don't understand and get down to the very basics of this, then at some point down the line, it's going to cost you money. It's going to cost you money. It's going to cost you time. At my age, those are the same things. Now, the difference is that I can get money back, but I can never recover my time. So guys, that's my thought here. And the exercise I'm going to do is something that's sitting in your lap that you may realize, but some don't. And it's a tutorial that Lyft puts out. Now I'm just going to address one piece of the tutorial and I'll come back to it. But this is kind of, I guess I'll do a series right here. And I just want to pull out one feature. So in order to access the tutorial, you just simply open your Lyft app. In the top left hand corner where your profile picture is, you tap on that profile photo. It's going to open up a menu. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th item down says help with a question mark next to it. You tap on help, and the third selection under more options says ride walkthrough, and that's where I'm going. Okay, it's a ride walkthrough. This is going to show you how the app works without you being in a ride. It's a tutorial. Okay, on the very bottom, I'm going to tap on start walkthrough, and it's going to give you the alert. That's the sound it's going to make, and like you heard at the top of this podcast, Speaking specifically of the Lyft app, that's the sound it's going to make. And in this example, it's going to give you 3 minutes. You get a chance to take a look at the app and things like that. So for this example, I'm just going to tap to accept the ride. And now it's giving me the option to switch to a navigation app. Lyft does have navigation built in. They still give you the option to select a navigation app if you have one of choice. We'll talk about that in another podcast. But let's just follow through with what's going on here. Use what Lyft provides you, okay? So I'm tapping got it. Now, the next screen is going to have me navigate towards that passenger. But that's not what I want to talk about. In the top right-hand corner, there is a drop-down arrow. And if I tap that, the first selection says to call. This mock passenger's name is John. It allows me to call John. Now, why am I telling you about I'm telling you about how to call a passenger. Now, why am I doing that? Because in this business, communication is key. There are going to be times when this app is going to give you the exact address. There may be times when the app gives you a range of addresses. There may be times when the app takes you to an address that is the clubhouse or the rental office for an apartment. It could take you just to the front of it could just take you to the entrance to an apartment. And so now you're left without information. Guys, this is where you're going to call your passenger, okay? And me, for a time, when I got a ride request, I'd head that way, but I would call my passenger. And my point would be, and kind of how would I go about it? I'd call my passenger. It sounds sort of like, hey, this is Lou with Lyft. I got your ride request, and I'm headed my way to pick you up. I just want to make sure that you are where this address says. I'm just double checking. So if you could confirm that address, or if I saw an address that was a range, and when I say range, it would literally say that the address is 1257 Mockingbird Lane. Well, I'm sorry, it would say like 1257 through 1259 Mockingbird Lane. So I'm like, okay. No one's at 4 different places. So I will call the passenger just to find out exactly where they are. And that takes a little time. But if you've got a good workflow, you'll be able to do that and do that while you're driving, whether it's using the voice to your phone app or having the phone prominently displayed where you're still not taking your eyes from the road. But doing that in a safe manner, I must stress, okay? But I'm calling the passenger because I want to ensure that what the app says is where they are, okay? Or when I arrive. When I arrive, and if there's no one outside, and if I'm at a residence, if there's no one outside, I'm going to call a passenger just to say, hey, this is the Lyft, just let you know that I'm outside. And I'm just out here waiting for you. And the passengers would be like, hey, oh, thanks a lot. We'll be right out. And obviously, if I'm at an apartment complex or if I realize that the GPS has only taken me to the clubhouse, I'm going to call the passenger. So guys, that is sitting in the tutorial, and I'm going to stop there. That's my lesson. Calling your passenger. By the way, you can text them as well, but calling the passenger ahead of time or calling the passenger when you arrive. And sometimes the passenger and those who are experienced are going to call you because they know, let me call this driver and tell him, hey, you're coming to my apartment. Here's the code to get inside the gate. Or call me when you get to the gate. I'll tell you how to contact me. I'll tell you the code so I can buzz you in. Or so you can buzz yourself in. Either way. So guys, that's all I want to talk about today. I just want to talk about what's simple. What many people on the outside would think, oh gosh, that's obvious. No, it's not obvious. It's not obvious. And you can't, unless you can't know what you don't know. All right. And guys, that's the extent of this podcast. So just to recap, call your passenger, use that feature. I just spoke to some folks yesterday about an event here in Nashville, that I know for a fact that you were going to, that there was a festival here in Nashville, beer themed festival. And I know at the end of the night when the festival is over, that there's a long line of cars. What happens a lot of times is when there's a long line of cars or there are lots of things going on, you get a ride request, you're headed to your passenger, you're just subject to the traffic that's there. Passengers can oftentimes get antsy if you're not in communication with them. And if you don't take the simple practice of calling your passenger, do not be surprised if you realize that a passenger has canceled the ride on you. Okay? But communicating with that passenger, doing something as simple as knowing how to call the passenger and calling the passenger, could often keep a great fare. Okay? So guys, this is Lou, your rideshare coach, signing off. Hopefully this adds a little something more to your journey. In fact, I know this will. Take heed, guys. Call your passengers, communicate with your passengers, and make sure you're on the same page. Because when a passenger feels as though that you're not on the same page, they feel sort of lost, they're going to end the ride, cancel the ride, and try to find another driver. That's just the way this works. So guys, take care. Bye for now.